Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Ricada of Ricada Law, small law firm in Central Minnesota. How we doing, guys? Welcome. Is it Monday? Oh my God, it's only Monday? It feels like Thursday to me right now. I am exhausted. I made a mistake. I made a critical mistake. Got done with the day. Got the kids to go to bed. Actually go out where they're all sitting in the same area. I'm like, why are you all upstairs with no purpose to be upstairs? It's past the time they're supposed to be getting in bed. So I'm like, guys, go to bed. Like, go. Like, oh, we didn't realize. But of course, it's spring break time. And even though they're not in school, they still have a spring break because everything shuts down. So they don't have anything to do. They're like, well, we're just playing and stuff and tablets. Go to bed. It's not for you. It's for me. But then, so they go to bed and I lay down. I make this critical error. I lay down. Oh my God. So now I'm picking up and we're going to hit this show. We're going to hit this show like a police wife. We'll start with that energy right there. So we're going to hit the show. We've got a couple topics. Just really two main ones. Candace Owens was fired. That's not one of the topics. It just makes me smile. It makes me smile so much. Look, Candace Owens was going to be out of the Daily Wire pretty quickly because a brilliant me noticed something during the Crowder thing. I think I said this last week, but I'm going to say it again. A brilliant me noticed something during the Crowder thing where she's talking about his negotiations and how she was so much more professional than him. You could see it in her eyes. You could see it in those beady little eyes. She's staring into the camera and she realizes in real time that she did not negotiate effectively, and everyone around her was making significantly more money. That was the beginning of the end for Candace. And yeah, good job. Christ is king or whatever. Made me laugh. That's all. That's Candace Owens' story. It's not a topic of the show. I might laugh at her a couple more times. I don't know. Every time I am talking to someone, they're like, you know who I like? Candace Owens. I was like, why? I genuinely can't figure it out. I have no idea. They just say it. They say, well, they're like, well, I like Candace Owens. Like, what do you like about her? She's smart. I mean, can you say that with confidence? Can you say it with a straight face? She's smart. She's well spoken. She's a good interviewer. No, it's not. Very mid. Okay, so anyway, I'm not going to laugh about that much today, except every time I think about it. So with that, though, we do have big developments. We have big developments in the Trump cases, and Trump is now, Truth Social is being incorporated into another company, and Trump's going to make billions of dollars. Take that, Letitia. Letitia, if that is your real name. So he's got the New York judgment against him is brutal. $470 million, whatever, appeal bond that they're trying to put on him. We're going to take a minute and stop talking about the Trump news in the middle of this segment when we get there in 40 minutes when I decide to actually start the show. We're going to stop in the middle. We're going to have a philosophical discussion about this New York fraud case. This civil fraud case against Donald Trump brought by the state's highest prosecutor with all the resources of government and the funds going to none of the victims, the alleged victims who did not complain. We're going to talk about that and how in fuck this is not an Eighth Amendment violation, especially with appeal bonds Look, appeal bonds are critical elements of litigation in some form. Like if you have a penchant or a tendency just having vexatious litigation in a jurisdiction, then you would want an appeal bond, because the appeal bond basically says if someone's a shit litigant and they can't, or they're just going to appeal the case frivolously, it's going to cost the other party significant amounts of money, and there may not be an actual legitimate thing. And if the appealing party doesn't have money in the first place to pay out the judgment, there's no real bar to them just appealing out of hand. So what they'll do is they'll require them to effectively put the judgment amount in escrow, and then if they lose the appeal, that goes to the prevailing party, as was their original right. So it's a way to just ensure that this appeal isn't a way to stall out payments and then run out your bank accounts. Because here's the thing, they cannot prevent you from paying your lawyer with your own funds. So one strategy some people employ is to run up the appeal bills. They'll pay for their appeal, and they'll have this ongoing amount of money that they're dwindling away from their victims, so to speak, or moving themselves towards bankruptcy by paying for legitimate legal costs. An appeal bond kind of hedges against that on the side of the prevailing party. I've got to sneeze. I think it's got to be allergy time around here. Give me a second. I should mute my mic, but I was going to make a joke and say Allahu Akbar, like out of the sneeze. Oh my God. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. I don't. If you guys got there, you're about to sneeze and it doesn't come out. That's what happened the last time Ben Shapiro talked to Candace Owens from the Daily Wire. The Daily Wire went, oh, God, there's something in there. It's not that normal palish color. It's something darker and nefarious, and it's got to come out. And they go, ha, ha, and the Crowder thing happens, and she lodges herself somewhere up in the nostrils, hanging by the hairs. She's like, like, next time, Candace, next time. Well, that happens to me too, just like Candace Owens, except I'm on the outside, like stained. And if that sneeze comes out, it's catastrophic to everyone downwind. But if it doesn't come out, all it does is lodge all that pressure right back behind my eyeballs. And I look like Arnold from Total Recall for a minute, and then they go back because the air comes. So sorry for the sidetrack. I'm going to try and get that sneeze out at some point. It's not going to happen. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yes. These appeal bonds are a function of protecting prevailing parties at the district court level or the trial court level as they go through the appeals process, so that the other party doesn't just cause waste and lose access to their prior ability to pay, if they had any at all. Okay. So that's the purpose of them. Well, Trump's appeal bond was like $470 million, which is not small. It's not a small amount of money. And it's hard to secure that much money, even if you're Donald Trump and you theoretically have it. But billionaires don't have like billions of dollars of cash normally, or accessible funds, right? It's tied up in investments, and some of those investments aren't necessarily liquid. I don't do liquid. We do solid investments, rock solid. Trump Towers, beautiful, erect towers, rock solid. All the walls, very solid. None of them soggy. He deals in hard assets. He deals in real property, and that doesn't always move very quickly. So when he's ordered to pay almost $500 million to the state of New York, so the state of New York cannot pay the banks that allegedly lost the money, he has to have that $500 million in cash. There's not much you need $500 million in cash for right now. Like, you don't have to have that typically, unless you're Hunter Biden on a bender. But other than that, you don't need that much money on hand, and it's purposeless just sitting around. It can be put to use. So he's being forced to free up this money. Well, this changed, of course. And that's the real big news of the Trump cases, in my opinion, because they significantly reduced the amount of the appeal bond. But we are still going to talk about that Eighth Amendment violation, or an Eighth Amendment question in regards to excessive bails. Because I think an appellate bond is possibly a bail. I don't. We're going to talk about, I'm not talking about it in the intro, just talk about it again. I'm going to, that's what we are going to talk about. We are going to talk about that. And I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to talk about Candace Owens again. I'm not going to laugh at her again. I'm just going to wait and laugh at her in a minute. So, okay. The other one is Elon Musk and Tesla have been battered by a judge in a 52-page opinion. And that 52-page opinion is probably boring. However, we might start reading into part of it. But the main portion of this story is that Elon Musk and Twitter went after a watchdog group. Watchdog groups are independent organizations. They're private entities, and they decide that you're a Nazi, right? Like that's what they end up doing. You can think of like the Southern Poverty Law Center, the ADL. These are the organizations that have the ability to destroy people, businesses, whatever, just based on their categorization, on their qualifications. They're not required to have any standardized qualification. How could you? It's an opinion. They're like, well, that guy's a Nazi. That guy's a Nazi. They hang out. That's a Nazi company. And that's the way they make these determinations. Now, they don't just call you Nazis. They also call you Hitler. And they can just do this. They can suggest that a particular person, company, organization, group, charity, nonprofit, whatever it is, they can suggest that any of them have violated some imaginary rule and are evil, like they're evil. And then they can tell the world that they're evil because they've decided based on their opinions that they are. And when they do that, they're labeled evil. If the world believes the organization, they're excommunicado, man. You can't do business. Creditors will not help you. You're constantly bombarded by protests and stuff like that. So it's a mess for a lot of companies to deal with. So Twitter and Elon Musk sued them for defamation, one of these watchdog groups for defamation, and lost dramatically, of course. Oh my gosh. I'm thirsty as a motherfucker. This is liquid IV because it's dry. Minnesota went from this beautiful winter where there's no snow and is just above miserable temperatures. And now it's cold and fucking dry because it's snowing. And all of a sudden, everything about your sinuses, everything about your fucking throat, everything sucks. Everything's dry all the time. No Candace Owens jokes. Don't do it. You don't want to. You don't need her. Just like the Daily Wire didn't need her. I don't even like the Daily Wire. But that being said, we're going to talk about this case. The judge issued an order basically saying it's a blatant attack on the First Amendment, which is funny. It's funny because Twitter is a blatant attack on the First Amendment because the government actually intervenes and tells them what can be on their site, and then they lie about it. But being labeled this stuff has real impacts with advertisers and sponsors and I guess business associates and other industry partners, stuff like that. And it can really damage companies, can destroy people outright. And these places are allowed to do it. And you don't have to be like, you don't have to make yourself a public entity or anything like that. They can just do it. They could just decide, find someone, some post somewhere, and they're like, oh, nope, that guy's terrible. It's a lot. So we'll get to that order. We'll talk about that as well. And we may, there's probably some other stuff we could talk about as well. That being said, I guess let's hit a couple of these chat. Well, we got a couple new members. We've got Angel Australia and Master Lions. Welcome to paralegal status, both of you. Take another drink. Red Bull Sauber Patronus says take another drink. I mean, it's like liquid IV. I was going to drink whiskey in a minute, but that's it. What flavor? I think it's lemon lime. No, it's like blue. It's like not blue. It's like raspberry or strawberry or something. It's pretty good. I don't know. It'd be better if it was lemon lime. All right, let me pull up this some of this Trump stuff. Well, let's Let's start with Trump's big news. This isn't related to his cases. This is just funny because the whole thing, the narrative about Donald Trump and I don't want to register for free. I don't want an account. God damn it, Bloomberg. Hold on. Okay. So the whole thing for Donald Trump was the moment he took office. Well, I mean, the moment he began seriously running for president, that's probably a better starting point. People went, well, wait a minute. This guy might win. And then they went, oh my God, this guy did win. And then they went, this guy's got to go. That's been the entire thing for Trump since he started seriously becoming a competitor as a Republican nominee. And they have been on a quest to destroy him. They could never really do it in the political realm. I mean, sure, he didn't win the vote in 2020, but they weren't able to remove him. They weren't able to stop a lot of his policies very effectively. They certainly couldn't stop sort of the populist mantra behind him, especially on the Republican side. He was just this force that they had to deal with. What ended up happening was what looked like a pretty concerted effort, although nothing would be officially connected, of course, to attack Donald Trump in a place where they could. His bank accounts, his investments, his properties. Go after Donald Trump. Tear up his reputation. Take down his business partnerships. Take down everybody. Create a case where he's an organized crime head. Make all of his accountants into criminals. Everybody he knows. Go after his lawyers. Go after everybody. Sever all of his ability to do what he does. And for a while, it kind of looked like they might get it. It was crazy. They're shutting down bank accounts. They were, preventing him from getting funding from other lenders. You got to have like alternative lenders when you have this much money or when you're doing projects this size. They were taking away these opportunities from him fairly effectively, trashing him all over any sort of public media. So that being said, it kind of looked rough for Trump for a while. And now you've got these judgments coming in. That E. Jean Carroll chick, I mean, what do you describe it if like someone penetrates your genitalia and then you charge them for it? Like that's prostitution, right? I think that's the legal term for it. She's the most successful prostitute ever. If you really think about what E. Jean Carroll did and how much money Trump owes her now, it's something north of $90 million. For what? To get those orange hands up in that, what is it, closet? It's gotta be, I don't even know what I would call that thing. It's a weird looking person, right? But yeah, so Trump allegedly like gives her a good feel up somewhere in some store where he says he wasn't until I wasn't there. And also I wouldn't, not even with the hands. No, I can't wash them hard enough. So he does it. And then years later, she makes $90 million. So there's that. There's also this huge New York case alleging civil fraud with basically no effective standard of proof, where a judge in a bench trial just decides Trump is guilty and we'll have a trial on for how much. It's baffling how this stuff is all happening, how it's unfolding, and how it just fucking keeps hitting him. And yet he keeps going. He's running for the Republican nomination again, trying to become, well, he's got it now. Back then he was running. He's got it now. And then, of course, he's going to try to become president when we vote in 2024, in November of 2024. And he may win. It's possible. But they're trying to take him out at every step. They're trying to kneecap him and distract him, his team, and drain his resources. Stay away from the presidency and also from everything else. That's been the plan again since somewhere in 2016 and I can't tell if they actually started in 2015 or 2016 with like the efforts to start taking him down, but we'll just say 2016 for ease. But it started back then. It's still going, and they're more and more terrified because he just doesn't go away. And then, as all that is, happening, it has been happening. We run into this, and this just makes me laugh. Trump's net worth hit $6.5 billion, making him one of the world's 500 richest people. Former president joins Bloomberg's list of 500 richest people. I don't know. Was it Forbes? I don't know if he's. I think it was the Forbes list. They didn't list Trump this year. They're like, no, we don't believe him. There's a judge in New York who says he didn't have it, and so like it was like a big scandal. They're like, oh, we don't even know if Trump's a billionaire. He's not on the billionaire list. He doesn't exist. And now Bloomberg's got to put him on the Bloomberg 500, which it's just funny to me. It's just funny because every time they try and do something like this, it kind of just seems to pendulum back towards him. The man's charmed. He stole Ric Flair's toupee. So his net worth hits $6.5 billion. And this is as a result of the sale of Truth Social. I can't lie, guys. Oh, is Truth Social actually a thing? Does anybody use Truth Social? Like, I'm always shocked by these social media companies. And this isn't a dig. Truth Social came out, and I was like, it's one more thing to fucking do. Really, it's one more thing to fucking do. And I don't want to deal with that. It's another social media platform. Social media platforms always end up being fucking irritating. So I stayed away. And you see stuff, you see these competing social media companies coming in, trying to come in against the big dogs, and you just wonder how they do it, how they survive. And these companies are fucking massively valuable and profitable. You're like, why? I don't know anybody who actually uses them. Like, people who use Facebook, people who use Twitter, people who use YouTube or whatever. I just don't know anybody. Hold on, I got to check my True Social account. Now, I know people do. I just don't know people who do. It's just like, why is this worth so much money is always my question. I don't understand it. But they always are. Oh, wait, here we go. Real Patriot Party says, Nick, I clipped you in the Tumblr. I'm gonna grift your own brand of Ricada P. See me for license and royalties, but after the monograph debacle. Sounds good. Sounds good, man. Wait, you're gonna sell my urine? Randall McCollum says, yeah, get out of your bubble, Nick. No. I don't want to get out of my bubble. I don't want to be around people using more social media than I do. But again, I don't know much of anything about online shit, really. Like, it's silly because I exist in this place, obviously, but I don't hang out in online stuff as much, even as I used to before I started streaming. And so I don't encounter a lot of this stuff all the time. But apparently people use it pretty frequently. It generates a ton of revenue. And you're like, it's always just surprising. So, hold on one. One second, have to deal with a interruption. All right, sorry about that. The sneeze occurred. That was good. Okay. Back to it. Where were we? It was so refreshing. Here we go. Oh, Truth Social. Anyway, it's not a commentary that this isn't a thing that people use. It's not a commentary that it's less significant or more significant than anything. It's just my observation. I know almost everybody I know uses some of the big three, at least one of the big three social media companies. Just the people I encounter day to day, they don't use True Social. So when it's worth billions of dollars, I'm always just surprised. That's the main, I'm surprised. Okay. Donald Trump's business empire was supposed to be in peril like never before on Monday. Instead, it turned into the single greatest day on record for the former president's wealth. The single greatest day on record. Like, that is fucking fantastic. It's just fun. Facing a deadline to post a bond of more than $500 million in a New York fraud lawsuit, a state appeals court tossed him a lifeline. Well, thanks. A lifeline. This they did. And again, I love how this is framed. They tossed him a lifeline. Well, here, it's like, no, it was an exceedingly excessive bond. You can't even get bonds it's difficult to find someone who will fund it. They have to have $500 million. They have to be willing to give it to you on the promise that you'll pay it back when you're losing. It's not a common thing. It's likely excessive. It should be an Eighth Amendment problem, but we'll get to that. Slashing the amount he'd have to post to $175 million, an amount he says he'll cover. Oh, I got that. That was in my wallet. Around the same time, his social media company, Trump Media and Technology Group, wrapped up a 29-month-long merger process, meaning shares worth billions of dollars on paper are now officially Trump's. Good job, Donald. All told, his net worth increased by more than $4 billion. What a day. What a day for Donald Trump. How much did you make? $4 billion? That means for the first time ever, Trump joined the ranks of the world's wealthiest 500 people on the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. Take that, Romney. Romney, you little pussy. With a fortune of $6.5 billion. We have a great company. Oh, wait, that's Eric Trump. We have a great company and are incredibly honored. Eric Trump, executive vice president of the Trump Organization, said in a statement, Trump, 77, has been rich all his life. I like that line. He's been rich all his life. But his fortune, which previously peaked at $3.1 billion, has largely consisted of real estate properties, the value of which he and his company were found to have inflated by billions of dollars a year for more than a decade to get better terms on loans. Okay. Let's calm this down. How did they find that he did that? Through bullshit. Real estate valuation for real estate that isn't selling isn't really something that exists. I mean, you can get an eyeball on the sort of area and range of it, what's reasonable, but you can't determine the value of real estate objectively. There's even two adjacent properties that are each 50 acres of field are worth different amounts when you really get down to it. It depends on all of the facts of the situation. So this judge in Engoron in New York, he just determines Trump is guilty of this fraud, and then they're going to determine how much fraud happened. And it's important to remember that the fraud normally is you inducing someone fraudulently to provide you some sort of gain, right? Like I lie to you, and then you give me money and I make more money. Or I lie to you and you do something that will increase the value of something I have and I can sell it for more. Stuff like that. That's fraud. It involves direct gain or direct harm. The fraud they're talking about here is that Trump lied and then a lender used the information that he gave them. Presumably, they relied on that information and gave him more favorable loan terms. Even though throughout the trial, it kind of looked like that didn't actually happen. That's the idea. And so the victim, the banks. Guys, can you imagine calling a bank a victim? And I don't mean like a little bank, right? You're like, who's the victim of your fraud? Bank of America. Oh, yeah. Victim. It's like that woman Ray Rice leveled, right? You're the woman, and Bank of America's Ray Rice. That's the analogy there. Banks are the victims of Donald Trump saying my property's worth a whole lot of money, and the banks go, it's worth not the same, but here's your terms. And now the interest they would have made if they would have given him a higher term is the damage that they took. Actually, let me say that again, because that was smarter than I realized it was going to be. That's a good whiskey. Really is. Okay. I want to actually rephrase and summarize Donald Trump's guilt in New York. Okay. Donald Trump's guilt is that the victim, the bank who lent him money, could have charged him extra interest and did not. And he paid them back. That's the crux of the case. They could have, but did not increase or have an increased interest rate. And you're like, but wait, the banks didn't know. He duped them. First of all, no, he did not. Second of all, the banks, yes, they did absolutely know. They have entire teams of people for valuing complex properties for deals like this. And still, they're lending to him whatever he asks at favorable terms because he's Donald Trump. He has the ability to pay it. And he did pay it. They got him on the stand. Well, did he miss payments? Like, were they late? Did he stop paying loans? Did he default on anything? Well, no, we got all our money. We actually got it early. So where's the crime? Where's the civil action? Where's anything? Where's the loss? Well, just say it's a loss. And then it is. That's what happened in New York. Again, Donald Trump loses because the bank could have charged him another percentage point or two and didn't. So he inflated the value of property, apparently, to get those more favorable rates. Trying to figure out where to pick back up and how to get back into it is always strange. But he inflates the values of his property. Banks, they just don't look, right? That's the idea. They're not looking. Well, he says his apartment's worth this. Okay. And they just take it. That's still on them. I don't know. I don't get this. He doesn't have leverage to make them lend him money. He doesn't have that. They could just not lend him money. And if they want to lend him money, they can independently review the properties and determine their own valuation and go with that. But they don't. They don't do any of that. And then they're like, shoot. Actually, no, they didn't say, shoot. Because they got paid. Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York or whatever, she just decides she's going to go after Trump because that was her campaign promise. So that she had to do something. That's why when you think about what happened here, I know I'm rambling about Trump, but when you think about what happened, like as I go through this process and think about this New York fraud case and how it cascades into what it is, and you go, how in God's name are we okay with this? And the answer is because it's Donald Trump. But you have a guy going out to get money. He inflates the value of property because he's not selling it, and he's very famous, and his property would be necessarily more valuable than a similarly situated property. He's the president at some points. This property is massively valuable, and he's not selling it. So there's no need to bring the price down. So he gets these favorable interest rates, maybe off of the loan that the bank chooses to give him because he's very rich. He has a special lending team. It's not like you go in and talk to a banker at a normal branch. This guy goes, he sends people to borrow money for him, right? Like that's the idea. And the bank's like, thank God, please come in. We're going to argue terms here. The bank doesn't check the value for themselves. They lend him what he asked for at a favorable interest rate that they mutually agree to. They decide he could have had higher interest because the person deciding he could have had higher interest is a diametrically opposed politician who's going after him. And we're okay with this. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy when you think about that. Or when I do. Maybe it's sane to you guys. Maybe not. I don't know anymore. Okay, here we go. His illiquid wealth created a potential financial crisis. I clicked this thing. There we go. Ahead of Monday's deadline to either pay his $454 million verdict or post a bond for 120% of the judgment while he appeals it. That's some bullshit. But the reason they padded up to 120 is because the appeals will cost money. New York Attorney General Letitia James signaled she was ready to seize assets if Trump didn't comply. But here's the thing. I'm sorry. This is a $454 million verdict. And I just glossed over the fact that the bond is for 120% of the judgment, right? Well, tacking on an extra, I don't know, fucking $50 million because it's 20% above the judgment. That sounds like a lot of money. And I just said, well, you know, because appeals cost money, right? And they want to make sure that there's an extra buffer of money for the appeal. So again, I'm having to retool like because even I glossed. It's such a normal thing to add in this extra amount. Like, look, if you lose the appeal, fuck you. You can't just waste this person's money. You're gonna have to pay for that appeal too. So they do that. But the verdict amount isn't normally $450 million. So that extra 20% would normally be on something like $100,000. So they're like, well, we want to add in like another 20 grand because it's going to cost 20 grand for the appeal. Your appeal probably isn't going to cost $50 million. Like just so we're clear. But then the other part of this is we're going to Attorney General Letitia James. Now, Donald Trump has to pay for all of the legal work on his end. The state of New York is paying for Letitia James. Do you think the state of New York is going to run out of money to pay for their appeal? Now, Trump isn't going to either, most likely. But any other citizen who's going through this appeal process against the government on a civil case, one of the strategies in civil lawsuits is to potentially outspend, right? You outspend or outlast your opponent when they don't have the money to keep going in the case. Maybe they're going to be pressured into settlement. You use it as leverage. The New York Attorney General is not going to ever run out of money because New York will keep funding this thing forever. Their appeal bond doesn't matter. The advantages the government has here are unfair. And we go, oh, that's why these shouldn't be civil cases. It shouldn't be a civil case where a prosecutor brings an extremely punitive lawsuit with a lower bar or a lower standard of proof than a criminal case on criminal statute charges and criminal principles to award a civil judgment. This shouldn't occur because there is no strategy between these parties. And the only time it should is if the actual plaintiff is the citizen and the defendant is the government, because then the citizen is deciding to do this. But when the government decides to do this, the citizen has to respond. Excuse me, guys. I'm like not doing great right now with the my sinuses. So give me a minute. I'm gonna have to come right back. I got the sneeziness in my nose is congesting as we speak, and this is not good. So hold on. Hey, sorry about that, guys. Oh my gosh. I had to go take like 19 million medications to try and get this thing under control, which is great. I mean, this thing quite literally. So hopefully it will not be an issue and we can continue on with the show. But it's weird, man. It just like swells up and fucking right behind my nose. That's a lot of real estate. Trump's invested in it and everything. So I apologize. I got some stuff down here to help take care of it so I don't have to go. I don't keep a bunch of shit for having runny noses and sinus pressure on my desk, because if I have it bad enough ahead of time, I'm just sick. But in the middle of the show is fun. So hopefully we won't have to deal with that. If I do have to step away, I won't be as long. And we're probably just going to forego the Rumble flip tonight or whatever. I'm not going to went to the bathroom, so I didn't have to take a break or anything. But we might shorten this show quite a bit tonight because it's starting to give me a headache and all that shit. Fun times. I'll try and knock it out with some whiskey, but we'll see. I'm not really having it. Let me hit the chats and then we'll get back into this story. And I have ways to do these stories longer and shorter. So that might be the case here. Rage LB says, can I get a birthday toast? 34. So almost important to the world, lol. Rage LB, happy birthday. 34 years. Like you said, almost important. You're like 1 year away from someone going, hey, you're that guy who said something a while back and no one cared. Well, tell me again. Cheers to you, brother. As you age, may you enjoy it. May you laugh at the people who are still your age now. Then, I think that makes sense. As you think back and go, oh yeah, I remember trying. I remember coming up with ideas. Now they want my ideas, but they don't want to hear. Or I don't have them because I gave them away early. Whatever it is. Dude, happy birthday, seriously. Hope it's a great one. Rockahora says, I believe a large portion of the value for truth is the infrastructure that comes with it, as they went the Rumble route of not relying on Amazon for their network services like Parler did. Could be. But I think really, though, the value for any of these social media sites, any social media sites is pretty simple. Like, it's huge when you look at it. Look, I got to stop. We got to get Trump's story off of here. Go away. You look at the values of these things and they're surprising. You're like, why is it worth so much? It doesn't seem that great. This, whatever. But then you look and you think about it and you go, oh, Facebook has something like 700 million users or whatever active. Twitter, hundreds of millions. So you're like, oh, well, some places like 5 million users isn't that big of a deal. No, it's a really fucking big deal. That's 5 million people who advertisers can try to connect with. And they're there. And if it's a high engagement website, like if it's got political motivation or if it's got, some sort of leadership behind it, like Donald Trump, for example, the engagement with the content and then subsequently with the advertised products and the business partners, that engagement drives revenue more than the overarching numbers. Twitter has hundreds of millions of users, but that includes hundreds of millions of accounts where people have lost their passwords and just started over because they had 3 followers or whatever. It involves so much repeat and overlap that it's not really effective. They can tell you how many users they have, how many registered accounts, but the better metric is what is the daily traffic? How much time does each person, each demographic spend here, here, and here? The smaller social media companies, they don't have the same raw numbers, but they trim a lot of the fat because the users that are using them are dedicated. They're interested. They're motivated. They have some sort of reason, and they're also typically more tech savvy. And when you really get into the sort of niche tech companies, the people using them are willing to either spend more money for a product that they believe in and is possibly superior, or they're willing to endure a slightly less mainstream and polished product for something that is either more functional or more targeted towards them. It's like Windows versus Unix or whatever. That's not a good comparison. But you get the idea. People will talk about like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to install Linux and I'm going to try and get Steam to work on it. It's like, or you just get Steam on Windows because it already works on that and you don't have to like do something. But no, of course they want to. That's their thing. And those users are motivated to participate. That's where the value in these companies comes from. Also, it could come from infrastructure and like literal physical assets and all that stuff. But seriously, Kevin B, 19C, the most logical reason for all of this is that they knew all along this falls apart on appeal, but after the election, this is all just to keep Trump from campaigning and draining his resources. Yes, I think so. I just agree with that. I mean, I just agree with that, not disagree with that. Sorry about that. My sinuses. Richard O Team says, look, I'm not here to stop him. I'm just saying he should probably be shot in the fucking head. Dang, sounds like you want someone else to stop him. No. Something probably needing to happen doesn't imply anything about my desire to do anything. Why would that stop him? Very, very strange. Okay, back to this. Thank you. So here we go. Trump vowed to quickly post cash or bond to cover the lowered amount. As it stands now, he can't cash in on his windfall from Trump's media merger with Digital World Acquisition Corp because his shares are locked up for roughly 6 months. The shares closed at $50 Monday, up about 185% since the start of the year. That values Trump's 58% stake in the company at $3.9 billion. Awesome. It's expected to start trading under the ticker DJT on Tuesday. The thumbs up from Trump. If you get that, you know you're in good shape. The completion of the merger, which overcame hurdles, including an investigation and settlement with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and last-minute lawsuits from executives and investors, means the shares are now included in Bloomberg's calculation of Trump's net worth. Previously, his stake had been valued at just $22.5 million based on his most recent financial disclosure form. Isn't that great? All this time they're saying, oh, he overvalued this, whatever. Well, he was worth $22.5 million until today. Now it's, $3.9 billion. Fucking hilarious. Would that all our investments go that way? I hope he makes $1 million. His revised fortune makes Trump, who is campaigning to return to the White House, worth on paper about the same as Joe Ricketts, Gordon Getty, and Tony James. I don't know any of them. According to the Bloomberg Wealth Index, which has been calculating Trump's net worth since 2015. The figure, which has consistently been below Trump's own estimates, is based on ethics disclosures required for presidential candidates, public filings tied to key real estate holdings, and staff reporting. It's funny because that figure is a lie, apparently, but who's keeping track? Anyway, this is a big day for Trump, right? He gets to wake up. He gets to have a shit-eating grin. Yeah, I got more money than you, Letitia. I hope you're working hard again. And the judge there in Garan. But they are appealing that ruling, and that ruling has several problems. No victims. But with that, we kind of got into covering the two of the topics on Trump there. But there's a couple more updates, I believe. 1 second. While I pull this up, I am going to turn my camera off and take care of my nose again. It's nice. I have Kleenex down here now. Oh, I call to breath. All right. I do not think this show's going to go much longer. This is not great. Not fun. Not fun. In fact, we're going to probably skip the second topic. Look, here's what we've got. Trump is he's got his hush money trial. It's going to begin April 15th. Yeah, as it's hitting me again immediately after I come back, and I'm getting a sinus headache. We're just going to end the show. I hate doing this. I really fucking hate it, honestly. I know some people are like, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can be angry that I end the show, but I feel worse right now. So I will catch you guys tomorrow. I got to go get a whole bunch of fucking Dayquil or whatever, and Sudafed. What do you even? I don't know. Gonna take a bunch of shit. We'll figure it out. Sorry, I really don't like feeling like this, and I really didn't want to cancel the show tonight. If I wanted to cancel the show tonight, it would have been way better to cancel it an hour ago. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Sorry about that. Have a good night, guys. I'll play the outro. Peace. Peace.
He drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some lost-plaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes madder, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an ardbeg, a bow, more of that rug. The spirits blow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter, as we hear lost-plaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Dundee to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter, as we hear lost-plaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have.